I was married to this woman for about 12 years, dated her during high school and college years, and haven't been with anyone else. I was under the impression that was the same case for her. We got married when both of us were 24 and the twins just turned 8. I only found out they weren't mine last week because of those Ancestry DNA kits. What started out as an attempt to cure boredom during lockdowns turned into this mess. The STBXW fought me tooth and nail when I mentioned my interest in doing the test, said it was just a waste of money. Her constant refusals only made me want to do it more, so I did it in secret. Now I know why she was so adamant. I found out who their biological father was and tracked him down to a house about 20 blocks from where I lived. We're extremely similar in appearance and personality. I can't even look in the mirror now because of that. I've moved in with a friend upon discovery and kept little contact with the STBXW. Plan on serving her with divorce papers once I'm mentally prepared to face her. My only concern now is how to approach the twins. They're the true victims in all this, and yet my heart aches looking at them. I don't think I can keep being a father to them knowing what I know now. They've been extremely worried about me, but I can't even listen to their voices without bursting into tears. To those betrayed with kids, how do you process the idea that your children were never yours? Edit. The biological father wants to be part of the twins' lives. He was unaware of their existence until I tracked him down and was surprised to know that my STBXW was married at the time of her affair. I have no reason to disbelieve him. Edit 2. A good number of you asked about how my STBXW reacted to this. I'll work on a separate post on that tomorrow. Just building up the courage to type out this post basically took all night. It's almost 7 in the morning where I am. Update. It's been nearly 2 weeks since I made my first post. I had hoped I could do more during that time frame, but life tends to mess with you. First things first. I had to go back home to pick up some documents. As people advised, I had an officer escort me and also kept a voice recorder at the ready. Where I lived, there is no need for both sides to consent to being recorded, so it was perfectly legal. I went back about 5 days ago after talking to my attorney and counseling from my therapist. When I got there, I couldn't see her car in the driveway, nor could I tell if she was still home. It brought me comfort seeing that I wouldn't have to interact with her. What made my blood boil, however, was opening the door and seeing the twins in the hallway crying. When they saw me, the twins rushed to hug me. While that wasn't unusual, the urgency that they did it with made me worry about what could have happened. Perhaps this was me trying to distract myself from the pain I felt when I looked at them. But I zeroed in on why they were so upset at seeing me. They told me that Mom just left and that she was mad at them. That she kept crying all the time and that she would scream at them whenever they asked about me. They thought I had run away and that I was never coming back again. One of them literally pulled me into the kitchen and pointed at the floor, saying that Mom shattered a glass there while shouting at them and that the shards hurt them. While they were trying to inform me of all this, I could feel my heart splitting in two. Half of me wanted to flee from the scene with them and protect them, while the other was worried about how the STBXW could twist this to make her a victim. There was no visible signs of abuse, but I am worried about what it could escalate to. There was no doubt in my mind that she had been drinking heavily. She has had a history of alcoholism. Her family is big on drinking. I haven't seen her drink since we were engaged, and it's possible she's relapsed. I only had a handful of minutes left to collect my documents, so I told the twins that I had to rush back to work and told them that I loved them. I contacted their mother right after and told her that I wanted the twins to stay with me a while. Her voice was extremely slurred, so I knew she was drunk already, at 3 in the afternoon. She basically began bawling and apologizing for everything she had done. That she was a horrible person without me, and that she made a terrible mistake for cheating on the perfect husband. I told her that until she could get a handle on her drinking, she had to let the twins be with me. It took a while, but I was able to convince her that the twins were better off being with me for now. So the next day, I went back to my old home with a friend who housed me. God knows how, but she made it back there yesterday and handed me the twins and kept telling me how the twins missed me and to give her a date for when I was coming back home. I know she was betting on the twins to lure me back in. She is unaware I already found their father and began filing for a divorce. Now they're here with me, and the OM isn't aware of that. I had continued reading the responses to my older posts, and people pointed out that the agreeable nature of our meeting was strange and concerning. I was too blinded by the relief I felt at finding an agreeable person to notice. Now that I did, I looked into the National Sex Offender Registry, and he wasn't there, thank God. I looked even deeper into his social media and looking for anything that stuck out and found comments from 2 years ago mentioning that he was engaged to someone. Seeing no post of him with a woman or a man in a romantic light, I can only assume that the relationship fell apart. That was the end of my findings. I contacted him and told him that if he truly wanted to become a father, we needed complete transparency between each other. I told him that I knew nothing about his past and what kind of romantic relationships he was prone to build. I needed to trust that he would be good to the twins and that whatever future partner he may have will be the same. I offered to do the same if he wanted me to, but he refused. He would do it if it was what I needed. I know polygraph results aren't always accurate, but it was the only thing I could think of at the time. The most reasonable theory I have is that the reason for his engagement breaking down was the same reason he was so driven to take the role as father, perhaps a miscarriage or something. We'll take that test later this week. I assume I can pick what questions he had to answer, but if that's wrong, please let me know. Beyond that, my STD test came back clean. I'm okay. Seeing the twins all the time now hurts. Hearing them call me dad feels like a stab in the chest each time, and hugging them makes me feel like a criminal, but I'm dealing with it. I'll try to keep recording all our interactions so that the STBXW can't accuse me of anything, and I have plenty of recordings that she won't like getting out. Needless to say, I've also had a paternity test done, and it's official. I am not their father. God, ducking hurts. Final update. Just as the title says, this cluster duck is what I've been dealing with since my last update. I had attempted to update earlier, but had a mental breakdown towards the end and couldn't keep the post up. Also, I moved out of my friend's place and got a place to rent. It was difficult, but the OM was helpful by recommending me to a friend of his looking to rent out a place. I felt that it would be safer for them to have their own room, and I'm tired of sleeping on a couch. The polygraph was insightful. The OM was who he said he was, which was a relief. He had no knowledge of my STBXW's marital status and genuinely wants to be in the twins' lives. His motivation wasn't as intense as I assumed. He just really wanted to be a dad, and none of his previous relationships panned out. I had heard from my STBXW sister that she was checked into a rehab center and began the process to recovery. At least it would make serving her papers a lot more simple. However, the main issue was the fact that the twins definitely overheard I am not their father during their time with their mother. I knew they were acting strange since I took them with me. They clung to me far more intensely than normal, asking me worrying questions like if they were adopted or whether I was going to run away again. I had chalked it up to what they had gone through while they were with their mother, due to how difficult it was to get them to talk about it. They would just ask the question and run away once I answered, only to return and demand I let them sit on my lap to watch me work or to play with them. I would try discussing what their feelings were like, only for them to shut down and then flee. At that point, I had set up an appointment for a therapist to see them. I guess at some point they couldn't handle it, and one of them came to me sobbing while I was asleep and just hugged me. Sherry, false name for convenience, was the one who clung to me the most during this period, which concerned me even before that point. She was the type who disliked physical contact with a passion. Words were flying out of her mouth, but they were too fast and out of order for me to understand. It took an hour before I even got her to calm down enough to be understandable, and even then, it was up to me to make it make sense. But here's the gist of it. None of these are actual statements, and a lot of it is from my observation, assumptions, and piecing together broken statements. During my absence, their mother took to heavy drinking at night and would be inexplicably absent. She's the kind of drunk who talks loud, and that was the case when Sherry went down one night to watch her. Well, if I was correct in my assumption, this was around the time I texted her that I knew the twins weren't mine, and she must have gone ballistic. Sherry told me that their mother was yelling that I should have been able to love them as if they were mine and not to run away. So, me coming back, that must have made them think that all of that wasn't true. My behavior during their time with me, however, must have made them concerned. They noticed the drop in my gestures of affection. They wanted more hugs, more lap sitting, more piggyback rides, and so on, but I couldn't do it as much as I used to. I try, I really do, but I can't stop feeling like I shouldn't do those. I've talked to my therapist about it, and she's told me that's common for men struggling with paternity. Only time will tell what I can and can no longer do. My original plan of breaking it to them slowly with a professional at the ready is completely in the gutter. Now I'm playing cleanup. They've had their first in-person therapy session about 3 days ago and 2 online sessions before that. So far, no mention of me not being their father has been brought up. We've mostly been focusing on what they had seen and how that made them feel. I can't go into much detail here. This post would go on too long. So that's my situation now. It's been a month since I first discovered everything, and I can't believe so much has happened in so little time. I've had divorce papers ready for a week now and need to decide whether I'll still be financially responsible for the twins or whether that will be the biological parents. Should I decide not to, I'll need to make a petition to take me off the birth certificate, which then automatically means I will have no grounds to fight for custody. I won't deny that I want a family with my blood, and I want to be able to fully support them without having to pay child support to my STBXW. In the end, I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't. I'll have to sacrifice so much for either option, and there's no clear right thing to do. I must either sacrifice a chance to have children of my own or sacrifice the twins that I've raised and loved for 8 years. Most of you must be baffled by this, but it's actually suffocating for me. Each passing second is like a noose that gets tighter and tighter. We've reached the end of our story. Let's listen to some of the comments by our Reddit listeners. Comment 1. Would all of you be okay with a legal binding agreement that gives you, OP, visitation rights after you have yourself removed as legal father? Between you and the OM, I think it could be done, but not sure about the mom. If you two are okay with it, but not mom, sell it to her as having a free weekend every other weekend. That could work. Make sure on the legal and binding part. Protect yourself at all possible cost, if you know what I mean. OP reply. We had actually discussed that as a possibility. However, it was only something we did over drinks, so it's not something that we've considered seriously, especially with how critical this period is for the twins. Comment 2. Why do you have to sacrifice children of your own to keep the twins that obviously see you and love you as their only father? Keep them in your life as your daughters. That doesn't mean you can't meet another woman and have more children. This does not have to be binary. You can't just turn them over to a stranger and say, "This is your real dad, I'm gone now." I understand the pain of paternity fraud, but you are scaring the living crap out of your daughters. Hell, you're scaring the living crap out of me. OP reply. It's quite difficult, actually. I had been working a little over 50 hours a week for the past 8 years before this and was planning on working less to spend more time with family. If I want a family of my own and be with the twins too, I'll have to go back and work even harder. I have only saved enough for 2 kids and a wife while accounting for any emergencies before feeling comfortable about taking less hours. This is where the sacrifices dilemma comes in. With divorce at play, I'll have to split up my finances and assets while also being on the hook for child support and alimony. Then I'll have to save up more money by working up to 60 to 70 hours a week so that I can cover any emergencies for a future family. I just wanted to be able to spend time with loved ones. I'm tired of going to work at 8 a.m. and coming home at 8 p.m. to spend 3 hours with family. For 8 consecutive years with no break. I thought the lockdown was honestly the best thing that ever happened to me. I finally got to spend more than a handful of hours with the twins, and life snatched that away from me. So, yes, this is a